Hey, how's it going? I had some questions come in from a student just today, actually, about careers teaching, in particular, careers teaching at community colleges. And so I wanted to do just a quick video. And if you are late career or mid career looking to transition to teaching at a community college, then this is probably not the video targeted to you specifically. It's more for younger folks who are like in the early stages of forming what the ideas of what they want to do, but you might find some of the information useful regardless. There are many different subjects at community colleges, right? And so you might be able to teach, depending on what subject, you might only need a bachelor's degree. That's typically for more technical things. But typically you'll need at least a master's degree in the subject that you're teaching. You do not need to pursue education degree specifically unless you are specifically going to teach teachers, teach people how to teach. Then it may be useful to get education degrees. That being said, it's useful to have teaching experience when applying for jobs. So if you go the route of teaching at a high school, for example, teaching something else, for example, it shows you have the chops to be teaching, and then you can kind of use that as a good way to present yourself as a good candidate for a faculty appointment. If you're not sure quite what subject you want to teach, go with what you love, because one great thing about this job is that you get to talk about what you love all the time. I love economics, and I get to talk about economics. It's something I would probably do anyway, and I do it as part of my job, which is absolutely brilliant. I think it's a great arrangement for me. But if you're kind of between two subjects, pick the one that's more difficult for community colleges to hire. For example, if you're in the humanities, it's very, very crowded of a space. You may even need a PhD to get in at a community college for full time. But there's other subjects that are less popular, one of them being economics. People with master's degrees in economics typically earn a lot more outside of academia, and so there's less what we would consider high quality candidates applying for those jobs. So if you're like kind of torn, I like economics, I might get a master's in economics, and I like business, I might get an MBA. Unless your MBA is from a very top school, you might consider something like economics or a related field because it'll be more unique, and that's a subject that community colleges need to teach. The space, for example, for MBAs is very crowded. I said earlier it's useful to have experience teaching before you go and apply, and there's a number of ways to get that. In my own personal case, I had taught in China with only a bachelor's degree, but I was teaching English for several years. Towards the end, I did have a master's degree in economics. I had finished it. But not everybody can go overseas to teach. So one way you do is you get the degree and then you get in as an adjunct faculty member. And what that is that just means part-time. So you're not going to teach the full load, which is typically 5 classes in a semester at a community college. You're going to teach, between 1 and 3 classes. The pay is a lot lower. There's no benefits and stuff. And some people do that as their career. They work at multiple community colleges in order to kind of piece together a living from doing that. It's not the most desirable. It's better to get a full-time position because the pay and benefits are typically better. But what you can do is get that adjunct position, do a good job at it, get to know people, and when an opening comes, you might be able to get in as a full-time person, although there's no guarantees. They may hire somebody from the outside. It's relatively competitive in most fields to get in, but if it's something you'd like to do, again, pick a subject that you like, keeping in mind that if you like several, pick the one where you're going to have more of an opportunity, or in some cases, pick 2 subjects that community colleges teach. You're going to need to do some research because you might love a subject that's not really taught at community colleges. And so be in mind for that. Another thing, if you love like English, for example, and you know there's going to be a lot of competition for English, don't worry, because even though the competition is tough for English, there's not a lot of need for English instructors because every single community college offers Comp 1 and Comp 2 and other English classes, and so you may have an in there. If you're not sure what's in demand, you can go ahead and call your local community college and just try to network a little bit. Try to call and see what's in demand. Especially if you're younger, they'll love to take questions like, "I'm interested in this. What's going on?" If you're currently at a community college, just talk to your professors and see what's going on there. It's a good job. It's decent paying. There's always complaints about the pay. Even if you're at a school that has a higher pay scale, there's always complaints about the pay from people. But it's relatively good of a job. It's wonderful. You feel like you're helping people. And sometimes you are helping people. You're teaching, you're talking about something you love. And so if that's something you'd like to do, go for it. if you're kind of torn between wanting to target like a middle or high school or a specific subject for like secondary education or a community college, and you're not sure you're going to be able to go to the master's degree level, or you're not sure of trying to get into a job that's more competitive, I would go with the high school. It may not be, it's prestige-wise, it's definitely a little bit lower on the prestige scale. Pay-wise, at least in my area, it's actually a little bit higher or about the same as what the community colleges pay, but the workload is more difficult, and the students are different. Younger students are different, and to the perspective, from the perspective of a community college instructor, high school students may be less desirable, they're less independent and so forth like that. But I will say that it's easier to get a job as a high school teacher. You go for your subject, you get your certification, the appropriate education, which is a different track, because for a community college you don't need education classes, just a degree in your subject matter. With high school, you need a specific bachelor's degree and the certification for your specific subject matter, at least to start. And there are a lot of jobs available, and that's less competitive than it would be at the community college level. Hopefully this helps if you're thinking about a career from a community college, especially if you're a little bit younger and you're just in the early planning phases. Take care.